Well, good morning to all, and welcome back to Faith on the Move. This is number 2 on the pilgrimage of St Paulinus from Todmorden to York. This stage will be from where I left off at Heptonstall, and on the way then into the mill towns of Halifax. So this is going to be an interesting one. We get off the Pennines and then down into the mill towns themselves. Okay, so hope you can join me. I'm waiting for my train, which is about another 20 minutes. So I've got plenty of time just to sit here and relax and do a bit of train spotting. Okay, catch you guys when I get to Heptonstall. See you soon. And now you find me in Heptonstall. As I've said before, I think on my previous video, if you've never been to Heptonstall, you're missing out. If you're in this area, make sure you come up here. The beautiful Yorkshire village with the cobbled streets. In fact, I think it's better than Hepworth, to tell the truth. I do like Heptonstall very much. Anyway, from here, as I said, we're going to go down off the Pennines now and down into the textile valleys and of West Yorkshire, and the first town of Halifax. That's where I'm hoping to get to today. About 12 miles walking. There's a lot of elevation and a lot of descents as well. So all in all, it's telling me I'm doing about 2,000 feet up and down. So it's going to be interesting. Anyway, I'll show you a bit more of Heptonstall as I go along. St Paulinus, of course, he did a lot in this area. Now, when I talk about Northumberland, you got to remember that England was not a whole England at that particular time. You had different kingdoms. You had the kingdom of Mercia, Wessex, Cornwall, Wales, Scotland, Anglia. You had all these different kingdoms, and so Northumberland actually came down all the way down to South Yorkshire. So when I talk about Northumberland, I'm talking about this area in them days, before England became united and under one king. So let's get on the Paulinus Way. So behind me is a Wesleyan chapel in Heptonstall. It's the oldest chapel in the world that still has regular use. They still come and preach here. It was built in I think 1742, and John Wesley came to preach here in 1786, I believe. I might be wrong on that. But anyway, oldest chapel in existence in the world that still has regular use. What a wonderful place. Okay, so here we are again on the Southern Pennines, and we're talking about Paulinus, and I picked up this book, How Christianity Came to England. Now it actually has a section about Edwin and Paulinus in this book, so I'm going to read you that section so you can fully understand. And when I talk about Northumberland, of course, as I said, Northumberland stretched from the Scottish border all the way down to South Yorkshire, onto sort of the Nottingham border. So that was a whole of Northumberland. This place was a whole of Northumberland. We are now in, of course, West Yorkshire. And what a beautiful spot in West Yorkshire this is. So, of course, in the early 17th century, the heir to the great kingdom of Northumberland was Edwin. And of course, like many kings of that time, he was not a Christian. In fact, he was a pagan, and he never really knew anything about Christianity, because Christianity hadn't come this far. But the problem was that during his lifetime, it was very hard and very difficult for Edwin, because what happened was a pretender to the throne took Edwin's place from his father and kicked Edwin out. So Edwin was really then forced to wander around Britain and sheltering in deep forests, as it says here, perhaps in shanty places where friendly peasants were, and for many years lived as a wanderer. Then one day, Edwin was so tired and miserable that he sat down on a stone and wept in despair. Now this is where it becomes interesting. When he looked up, he saw a stranger standing near him. "Why are you sitting there in sorrow when others are sleeping?" asked the stranger. "Because I have no friends, no refuge, no hope. I am hunted down like a wild animal," replied Edwin. "What reward would you give me if I could deliver you and make you a great king?" he was asked. "I would give all I possessed," answered Edwin. "And if the man who foretells your good fortune can also point you to a new and happier way of life, would you obey him always?" asked the stranger. "Of course." "I would, if such a man could deliver me from the enemies," was the reply from Edwin. The stranger drew near, placed his hand on Edwin's head, and said, "When next you feel the touch of his hand, he must remember the promise." Then it seemed that the stranger disappeared. Not long after that, the King of East Angles, being another part of another kingdom of England, the King of East Angles utterly defeated the king who had taken Edwin's throne. Thus, the first prophecy was fulfilled when Edwin was restored as the King of Northumberland. So, Edwin was now King of Northumberland. He needed a wife. Now, there was a Princess Ethelberga, and she lived in Kent. So her father, the King of Kent, with a priest called Paulinus, then came to Northumberland to marry Edwin. And again, this is where it gets interesting. So, the Christian priest from Rome. Now followed an amazing scene. Paulinus, a Christian priest from Rome, went straight up to Edwin and saying, "Rememberest thou this sign?" and placed his hand on the king's head. Edwin wanted to fall to his knees and worship Paulinus as a god who had done the wonders. But Paulinus stopped him and reminded him that he had only received 2 out of the 3 gifts. He had escaped from fear of his enemies. He had been restored to his father's throne, assuring him that now he had but the third gift left. So Paulinus began to talk to the king about Jesus. Right, let's carry on the Paulinus way. Well, you now find me sitting on a bench in Mount Tabor, opposite a Wesleyan chapel, and this Wesleyan chapel was built by the quarrymen, and next to it they built a Sunday school as well, but unfortunately the chapel is now closed down, although the Sunday school, the Wesleyan Sunday school next to it is up and running. I'll show you more of it in a minute. So, has it been a tough one so far? It certainly has. From Heptonstall to here so far, I've done climbed around about 2,500 feet, and it's been like this and down like this and up like this and down like this, and now it's going to ease off and flatten out a bit as I get into Halifax, to Halifax Minster, where I'm going for today. Then from Halifax it's across Dewsbury, Wakefield, then up to Leeds, from Leeds then on into the Vale of York and off to York. So a fair way to go yet. This is only the second day, or number 2 of the pilgrimage, day 2 of the pilgrimage. Now because it is a pilgrimage, of course, I talk on religious things. And I'm going to talk about today about persecution, and it may surprise you to know that throughout the world 388 million Christians are on a high level of persecution at the moment. That's a fair number. In fact, Christianity is the most persecuted religion in the whole of the world, and it doesn't stop there. Even persecution in England now, due to government policies, to school policies, to the mainstream media. It seems nothing but onslaughts of Christian persecution going on and on and on in the UK at this present moment. In fact, it may surprise you that I'm reading from the 2025 crime figures. Sorry, 2025 crime figures. There was at least 1,600 thefts and burglaries on churches in the UK last year. there was well over 1,000 acts of criminal damage, including arson on churches in England, not the UK, in England, last year. There was well over 1,000 acts of violence on Christians last year alone, and a lot of those were not reported because as a Christian you forgive, but the ones that were reported because it was so serious, over 1,000. So don't think that there's no persecution of Christians in this country, because there is, and it's got more and more over the last 40 years. Anyway, on that happy note, I'm going to continue on. I'll get back to you sometime and we'll have a read on the Bible. I'm going to read you Jeremiah chapter 2 verses 26 to 28. So Jeremiah 2 verse 26 to 28. The Lord says, just as a thief is disgraced when caught, so all you people of Israel will be disgraced. The kings, officials, your priests, your prophets, you will all be disgraced. You that say that a tree is your father and that rock is your mother, this will happen because you turned away from me instead of turning to me. But when you are in trouble, you ask me to come and save you. Where are your gods that you made for yourselves? When you are in trouble, let them save you. If they can, Judah, you have as many gods as you have cities. So, as I said, the mark of a great man is not how we deal with our peers or how we behave with people of no consequence. Okay? It's about looking after people and how we behave with people who need our help. In James 1 chapter 27, this describes true religion as, and I quote, to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. There are very real needs all around us, and God has placed upon us and a responsibility to do what we can. Amen to that. Well, whilst I'm here, I'm going to talk about this invasive plant, the Himalayan balsam. Now, they normally grow about this tall, which is roughly the same height as me, so what, six foot maybe? And I've never seen them grow this tall. That must be all of 9 feet tall, coming on to 10 feet tall. A very invasive plant, not natural to this country, was introduced during the Victorian times and has gone rampant throughout the country. Himalayan balsam. There's another one called Japanese knotweed. My goodness, you'll have to be very careful with that one, because that one will just destroy your house, believe it or not. If you have these invasive plants in your garden, your house prices drop to virtually nothing. Himalayan balsam, this one's called. It looks similar to Japanese knotweed, but it's not Japanese knotweed.